Okay, you're going to do a value scale with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scales. I did 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. You can do 1.5 by 1.5 or 2 by 2. And then you're going to use your vine charcoal like this. And you can use a compressed stick like this. Or you can use your charcoal pencil, which is also compressed. So the first one is really, really light. I just used vine charcoal. The second one is also just vine charcoal. I press a little darker. Now I'm going to do the third one. And if you don't want to smear it, put your hand on a piece of paper like this. I'm going to tip it a little bit. And I'm not using the end. I'm using the side. I'm pushing pretty dark. I'm going to go multiple directions. So I can get right up to the edge and I can have a smooth texture. Which is what I did with this. This was really barely touching. This is a little heavier. Now this one's going to be the heaviest. So the first 3 are just going to be vine charcoal. Okay, then I'm going to use my finger for me. I tend to like to kind of go in circular motions like this. I'm going to put it back. You can see it. And if you go over the edge a little bit, that's all right. So I go in circular motions. You can use any finger you want. So I try and get it as smooth as possible. And it's a little uneven. And then I'm going to add a little bit more because it's not quite dark enough. I want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to put just a little bit more. Try and even it out just a bit. My finger again. You don't want a sweaty hand. I tend to wipe once I get charcoal on my finger, it doesn't take it back off very much. But if your hand's very sweaty, then you want to maybe use a Q-tip. I'm trying to make it pretty even. So it's an even value. And then I'm going to use my kneaded eraser, which is right here. Here's a better one, newer one. This one's just getting a lot of charcoal in it. I'm going to clean up my edges. So I clean that edge. I'm going to clean this edge. This edge. So I clean my edges, and now if I want to try and even it out a little bit more, I'm using a little bit of a blending stump. A little bit more even. Bring it up to this edge a little bit over here. And you definitely want to be able to see a value change between each area. And I'm doing this a little faster than I did those two. That's pretty even, and it looks like a different value. So I have 3 values that are done just with vine charcoal. 1, 2, 3. This is my darkest value. I put vine down and then a lot of compressed on top. I put vine down for this and charcoal pencil. Again, the compressed stick is the darkest. Here, I'll show you. That's compressed right there. It's very, very dark. Charcoal pencil is also compressed and dark, and vine. Not as dark, okay? So now for this last one right here, I'm going to put a layer of vine down first. Going all the way up to my edges. Again, I'm using the side of it. Going in multiple directions. And blend this around. Get it nice and soft. Get it so it goes all the way up to my corners. Use my blending stump a little bit to get the corners a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to use my charcoal pencil, and I'm going to go over this now with my compressed charcoal. I don't want it as dark as this, and I want it darker than that. So I want it in between value. So I pushed a lot harder on these two, and I'm pushing on this. Again, I'm also going multiple directions. Coming right up to my edge. Using the side of my charcoal. Multiple directions just allows it so you don't have a lot of lines. So it's easier to blend either with a blending stick, stump, a Q-tip, a tissue, or your finger. Now, let's see if it's lighter once I rub it. I want it to keep it darker than one side and lighter than the other.